So, 1 year ago, I was in California at a camp where my mother and I were leading worship. And this camp just so happened to be, it's a non denominational Christian camp. So, for those of you that aren't Christian, it means that it's not necessarily Catholic, it's not necessarily like charismatic, it's just everybody. Basically, if you believe in God, this camp would be awesome for you. But it just so happened that this camp was located at a nunnery, like a place where nuns live. Is there another name for that? I don't actually know. I'm sorry, that felt disrespectful. Um, it's gonna get worse from here, the disrespectful part. Um, Someone while I was at that camp asked if I could take like as many pictures as possible, um, so that we could remember the people at CFO and just the places and things because every year you get different people and a lot of the people are older and pass away and it's just nice to do it. And I think she knew I was kind of a fish out of water. It was my first time on the West Coast. Well, I had been there a few weeks earlier, but um, I just kind of needed something to do. I was basically the only one in my age bracket at that particular camp. So I kind of needed something to do with my free time, and I'm thankful that she gave me that project. It ended up being amazing. But one day I went on this walk, and this grounds was actually beautiful. Michael Jackson owned a house for a while on the grounds of this place, and um, which I hear he never actually lived in, but he owned it. I don't know if that's true. Um, but anyway, I'm taking a walk and I see this clover, like in this garden. There was this garden that had all of these, like all of the plants were in pots, kind of like my garden, and um, but it was outside. And the reason they do that is because of the drought that's there in California, so that they can be more careful with the watering and it doesn't just seep into the ground to keep the plants alive. And there were pots and pots and pots and pots of clover plants, which is my absolute favorite plant. Always has been since I was little. And well, I did at the time own like several clover plants, but I did not know that purple clovers existed. But there it was, like tons of these purple clover plants. And I happen to know that clover plants, like each individual clover, is its own separate entity. It has its own separate root ball and is separate from the rest of like the group of clovers. So I kind of stole a little bit from this place in the fact that I reached in the ground, like an inch below the dirt and pulled out the root ball to this one clover stem and put it in a Ziploc with some water and the sand it was in and brought it home and planted it, and it grew in my room for a long time. I cannot stay in that position any longer. Um, and it's been my favorite plant I've had ever since then. Both because it came from California and because clovers are my favorite and it's purple. How cool is that? But like 4 months ago, it died. And like it's a clover plant. It dies. That's understandable. But I was really sad and I wanted to buy a new one online or wherever because we don't have them around here, but it was really expensive. So I haven't been able to do that yet. Um, but I just felt like I should keep watering the pot that it was growing in, and not take out the dead leaves from the pot, which normally I would do. I don't like, I like groom my garden and get rid of all of the dead stuff, but I just felt like I shouldn't do that this time. So I didn't. And this morning when I woke up, I looked across, like, because my bed faces my window and my garden is in front of my window, and I audibly gasped, which is not really something I do. Because down here, where is it? Was that little, can you guys see it? Right there? This little purple clover. after months, it came back. Like, I have seen nothing growing in that pot for months. But I knew that if I just kept watering it, like, something in me just said that it would be okay and it would come back. And if I stayed faithful to it, it would come. And there are some circumstances in my life today that this could not be more perfect for, that I feel like I'm losing them, and things are dying around me, whether it be friendships or it's, things with my physical health, or it's abilities that I had that I feel like I just aren't good at anymore, or spiritual growth or whatever that I feel like is just dying. And I have been feeling the last couple of days like God has just been saying to hold on to hope, and to keep putting effort into those things, and to keep fighting for what I feel like is important and what I feel like God has given me. And this morning, waking up to this, my favorite plant that I cannot believe even stayed alive. Like, I packed it in a Ziploc and put it in my suitcase and flew home with it. And we were stuck in the Arizona airport for, I think, 6 hours. And so, coming all the way back home, I mean, it was in that suitcase for like 24 hours. And it lived. And then it died. And now it's back. And so if you're going through something today and you feel like you've lost hope, I would just really encourage you to, to just keep fighting for it. Like, sometimes we need to let go and we need to back off. And in a lot of sense, we do have to, always let go and just let God handle things. But if God has really put something in your heart and He's telling you that it's important and it's a passion you have, then fight for it. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get it right now, but lots of times we need to put some serious time and effort and whatever into something for a long time before we see any fruit from it. And it might seem silly to all of you guys, but that one little purple clover plant, I feel like I have like a new lease on life or something, to be hopeful that my God is big enough to bring back the stagnant and dead things in my life. That God is not an Indian giver, and He, that phrase seems racist, but that He does not take back the gifts that He has given us. Yeah, sometimes things change and they adjust, and that's okay. But if God's given you a passion for something, if God's given you a gift, if you feel like you're sucking at doing something you're supposed to do, fight for it. And keep working at it and give it time. Time is an amazing thing because it can take a seed and turn it into a tree. And in this case, it can take a dead, almost moldy pot and turn it into a growing clover plant. Day in the life of a very happy sick girl.